Welcome back to the Clean Technica EV Obsession podcast. I'm your host, Joe Boris, here with my co-host, Zachary Shahan. But no, we actually have quite a few big stories today, and I want to lead off with this. I know that this is kind of a non-story, but I think it's critical because we talk all the time about robotaxis and their importance to Tesla. And of course, where Tesla goes, seemingly, that's where the EV market goes. So we should talk about this. And there's a couple of different versions of this story out there. And I'm talking about the story with Cruise. It seems like the version that I got was a woman, a pedestrian, was hit by a car and effectively was laying on the road as a kind of a road obstacle. And a Cruise robotaxi came up behind her and just kind of ran her over. And I've seen a few different versions of this. There's one version of this in the news where, it basically says that like the Cruise robotaxi mowed down a pedestrian. It doesn't seem to be what happened. There's another one that says that a human driving car hit a woman into the Cruise. That seems to be extreme on the other side. What do you think actually happened there?
Well, when I first saw the headline, I was like, wow, how did that happen? They've been driving around. They're so good at avoiding, at not hitting people, and they're just excellent at that. So I was like, how could this be possible? And then I saw Cruise's tweets you sent over, and, they say that a human-driven vehicle right next to their vehicle, right on the immediate left of the Cruise vehicle, struck a pedestrian. It launched the pedestrian in front of the Cruise robotaxi, and then although the Cruise robotaxi braked quickly to try to minimize the impact or try to avoid it, although it wasn't avoidable apparently, they ended up running over the pedestrian, and the driver who initially hit the pedestrian reportedly fled the scene of the crime. And obviously, everyone feels horrible about it. Even, I'm sure, the person who fled the scene of the crime, they're probably just scared.
One would hope, right?
Yeah, well, I assume they are concerned about going to jail for life or something. But fleeing the scene of the crime doesn't help their case, especially considering that Cruise robotaxis must have recordings of that car.
That's a good point. I'm sure there are recordings of it. I mean, this has been a question that's come up this has been a question that's come up in terms of data privacy for data privacy advocates, is how much information is actually being recorded by these robotaxis and by these Teslas. They're recording license plates, they're recording people's faces, and supposedly that stuff is blurred out and you have to have some kind of special dispensation to be able to see that or access it. But given the cybersecurity leaks at Tesla recently, I don't know how many people are really confident about that, but that's a really good point. There should be an enforcement component to this. I think for me, the story here is that there are so many news outlets reporting this, Cruise accident where Cruise driver hit a pedestrian. How many pedestrians do you think get hit every day by cars being driven by human beings that just don't get reported, that nobody writes a story about, nobody cares? Like, I guess what I'm saying is, to me, this is a non-story. It's only a story because it's Cruise.
Yeah, no, I agree. But so, yeah, I would move on for now. We'll see what comes of it.
Moving on.
The most exciting story of the day, I think, is it's not like a shocker because it just continues what's been happening in Norway. But
yeah, it's not a thrill-a-minute ride, but it's pretty cool.
September plug-in in Norway, in Norway, 93% of auto sales last month were plug-in vehicles. 93%. That's up from 89.1% a year ago. So it continues to climb, even as it's at the very top of the S curve. And BEVs accounted for 87% of new auto sales. So full electrics, 87%, plug-in hybrids, another 6%. So this is a mature EV market right here.
This is a mature EV market. Yeah. Do they have many alternatives?
This is how you do it.
I like that. That was good.
That
was
was
good.
bad, but
No,
I'm
no,
not
no, no, no.
afraid to
It was
embarrass
good.
myself.
It was good television. I like it.
Oh my.
But no, the question that I guess I have is, what are the options available? Like if you have some mad Norwegian who absolutely must have, a diesel vehicle, can they even buy that? I'm going to say, can he even buy that? Because probably a man.
I think you can in a few segments of the market. That's why there's not at 100% still, but and I think there's a few segments that are just not quite served by electrics yet, or one or two segments maybe. But yeah, I mean, you can see there's a few diesels sold, a few petrols, and a handful of conventional hybrids. You can see just the change. There was one dip in January because of I guess some policy change, but it's just a constant climb here. Yeah,
Depending on when they do their taxes, January might be when all the commercial vehicle sales are done. Because I would imagine a lot of those diesel and petrol vehicles are probably like contractor vans, handyman kind of work vehicles.
yeah. I think there were some subsidy changes too, some minor ones with benefits. But here you got the chart of the top sellers in September. Again, we get one of those bars where there's three dashed lines three angled lines because the Model Y bar is too big to fit on the chart. So the Tesla Model Y, just enormous sales. The Skoda Enyaq, which we've been praising and wishing would come to the US as a rebadged Volkswagen or Audi, is number 2.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the Model Y is just so far out ahead, though. But then you get the Ford Mustang Mach-E and the Toyota BZ4X in 3rd and 4th. Quite an interesting market, yeah. You got the Aria up there in 6th.
The BZ. By the way, I found out how to say that, but it's we'll get to that in a minute.
Okay,
That BZ
say it.
exit. Oh, so it's BZ 4x because it's supposed to
Oh
be
my.
beyond zero emission 4x4. So
Oh
it's
my
the
gosh.
beyond zero BZ 4x, but like
Nobody can say it. It's so
that is
bad.
like the most Japanese thing. Like there's 100% some engineer making that decision, going like, "This is great." Um, but regardless of that, I'm really curious about the car. We've driven a few of them. We've seen a few of those. I don't know if you drove one at Electrify Expo last year. I had one as a
No.
tester
Mm-mm.
that I was supposed to get scheduled, but I haven't gotten it yet. And I don't know, man. It's different looking. It's definitely. I just wonder if they shouldn't have just made a Rav4 EV again,
Yeah.
or if this is like their new platform that they're going to build everything on. Because there is a BZ3 sedan that is sold in or that is going to be sold in other markets that looks like a good competitor to the Model 3.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Don't ask
yeah,
me
we'll
what
see.
Toyota's
I think
doing.
it's going to be good.
The other
Yeah,
funny note
they don't
here,
even know.
yeah. The other funny note here is the Fisker Ocean is on there, number 10 on there. So Fisker's selling over there.
I forgot to tell you, I was in downtown Chicago and I saw Fisker Ocean and
Oh
I
wow.
lost my mind. I saw it on the road in the wild and I lost it.
Oh
I was like,
man.
Margaret, look. She looks at it and she goes, that thing's stupid, and kept going. And I was like, all right.
Oh my.
But it's my fault too, because I think she asked me how much it was. She's like, how much is that thing? And I was like, more than your Volvo. And I think it actually is not.
No, yeah, I don't think it is. But yeah, we'll check that out. So yeah, if you have
We'll Google it.
trailing 12 months, you don't need the modified bar to show the Model Y, but it's still far ahead number 1, almost twice as many as number 2 Skoda Enyaq. Volkswagen ID4 is 3rd, BZ4 by
Are we at the
Mach-E.
point yet where the majority of the EVs sold are not Model Ys, or is it still the Model Y? And then, because it looks like if you add everything up,
Oh
it looks
no.
like it's a little bit
No.
more than the Model Y.
No,
Because
yeah.
in the US, I don't think
No.
that's the
I mean,
case.
even adding the next 3 together is more than a Model Y here. So it's just but you have, what's interesting too to me is almost everything on the top 10 list is a small crossover or small SUV slash crossover, small or mid-size SUV slash crossover. You got the Model Y, the Enyaq, the ID4, the BZ4 by the Mustang Mach-E. You got the ID Buzz there. The Volkswagen ID Buzz, all yellow ones, only yellow. No, I wonder what color
Are
they're
they only
selling.
yellow?
No, I would like that because then you can see them better. But no, I'm curious what colors are selling more over there.
I really like the green. I thought the green looked good.
But yeah, that's the Norwegian market. Pretty exciting, fun stuff. We'll move on. We got a few Tesla stories here. Quite interesting. This one, the Tesla has added a rear-wheel drive Model Y back to the configurator. It had one very briefly, and then took it away, but now it's back with a starting price of just $44,000. So
That's
expect
crazy.
that to keep selling well. Add in the fact that it now qualifies for a full federal tax credit, and you're down to $36,500 for a Model Y.
Yeah,
That's
these things are getting so cheap. I might actually have to look at one again.
that's going to be the top seller in the country, I think, with this. And then you've got the Chevy Blazer at the same price. Like, who's buying a
Yeah.
Chevy Blazer over a Model Y? I'm sorry, that's bonkers.
I
Um,
mean,
no,
it comes
don't
back
even
down
try.
to
Don't even
no, no,
try.
no, no,
No
no.
one should buy a Chevy Blazer over a Model Y.
Oh,
Nobody.
I agree. I agree with that. I agree with that. But I think that you will still see that because of I think there's three reasons you'll still see that. Number one, the people walking in to buy that think the Tesla's a lot more. They have no idea that the
Yeah.
Tesla's in the same product range. They're looking at that and going, man, this is 45. Tesla's probably 100, and they'll buy it. So I think you have market ignorance is playing into that. I think you have existing relationships. There's people who have existing relationships, whether for commercial or business fleets, or maybe they've bought from the same Chevy dealer 50 times. They trust those guys. They don't like the idea of having to figure out where to take it for service. So I think there's going to be some legacy people. And then the third thing is there's going to be people who just don't want to do business with Elon.
Yep. No, it's true. But yeah, it's going to be the top seller. It's obviously like a very compelling option now for people who don't feel like they need too much range. It comes with a range of 260 miles instead of 330 for the dual motor
That's
version.
a lot, though. Like I still feel like 260 is plenty.
I'm like, I don't need anything more than I don't need that. I don't need more than that. Like my Model 3 never had more than that. So I'm all about it. So I think a lot of people who are wanting a Model Y, but they didn't feel like they could stretch that far financially, are going to be on the market for a Model Y now. And are going to be buying one quickly. It's said to come with, rumored to come with LFP battery pack instead of the NMC batteries. So that would make it, the important thing here too is then you can charge to 100% with no worry, like at all. Like that's what one of the great benefits of LFP. So if you're charging to 100% instead of 80%, if you're charging the dual motor one to 80% because it's not an LFP batteries, that's 264 miles of range. So it's essentially the same 260 miles for the LFP single motor rear-wheel drive option. So you're really not getting more daily range with the dual motor despite bigger battery and more higher price. On a road trip, maybe that's a factor, but even then I just don't see it. Yeah, so that's it basically. I mean, huge news. I think that's gonna sell like crazy. And if Tesla actually decided to like advertise, man, they could really bust open the myth that Teslas are expensive real
Well, but
quick.
I think they are doing some form of advertisement, right? Because they've now shown up. They're at Electrify Expo. I think they're at Charged EVs. They're starting to show up at some events from a corporate level, and letting people do test drives. And I think that's just
Yeah, I'm just
something
thinking
that you're
more
going to start to
like
see.
mass market advertising, like reaching people like during the Super Bowl, that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, I that's real scary, right? Because you don't want to do. I bet the person who negotiated the deal to put a Peloton in the new Sex and the City series really regrets that move, because the main guy dies on a heart attack in the first 5 minutes on his Peloton, and like that was it. That cratered the company. They lost 90% of their market share. Like that was it. It was destroyed.
Oh
Because
my
like I'm not going to
gosh.
buy a Peloton and give my fat husband a heart attack. It's
Oh
over.
my gosh, that's
So
just
like
bad. I
you
didn't even know
could
anything
have
about
an
that.
ad. Oh yeah, dude, it was it was crazy. So like the
Jeez.
opening scene, the guy dies he has a heart attack on the Peloton, and yeah, it just destroyed the Peloton market. And you could see a scenario where Tesla comes out and says, you can buy a new Model Y for $35,000. And everybody goes, oh, that's a cheap car. I thought those were expensive.
Yeah.
And
Well, maybe
then
I'll check
now
one
they're,
out.
yeah, well, I think you'll see a mix of both, right? Because the lowest priced car in America has never been among the top 10 bestsellers.
Oh, you're still on the that's a hit on it. No, I just don't. I think people get in it, they experience it, the better drive quality, the rapid acceleration, the better tech, and they're just like, wow, how is this possible? Sign me up. Here's my checkbook.
I think they're going to get in it. It's not going to have they're not going to be able to figure out how to turn on the windshield wipers, and they're going to go, this is lame.
Oh, Joe, you're too cynical. You got to pay attention to what's happened with Teslas. You get someone in a Tesla, they buy a Tesla. It's like
Listen, I'd rather be true to myself and wrong about it than just be like, oh, I guess that's just how what's been awesome, and I'll
but you have
convert
to
my
I
ways
mean,
now.
but you have to see that's what's happened.
I do see that's what happened.
There's a
I have
small percentage of people get in and say, "Oh, this is too complicated for me," and they go
We'll see if
buy a
that stays
convention.
true with Highland.
Well, yeah, I mean, Highland's a different story, but this Model Y is not a Highland, so it still has the stock at least. we'll
Good
keep an
point.
eye on a Highland. I'm curious about that. I think that's a step too far, although I still don't know how much that will hurt it, but I do think that's a step too far and that will hurt the company. Um, so there's also Model Y news in China, Tesla's other main market, and that is that they've updated the Model Y there. It's got some slight changes, improvements. So it's got some exterior tweaks, a little bit better interior. They've actually the dashboard material is a little different. It's something like a minor refresh, we can say. They all come with hardware 4.0 self-driving computer. I guess that's new. And the starting price in China is $37,000. Actually, slightly, yeah. That hasn't changed really. So it's been low. So I think this is interesting because it's just in China for now. Maybe it will spread to the other markets soon, and China gets everything first. That's probably the case. It's also slightly faster now, 0 to 60 in 5.9 seconds instead of 6.9 seconds, 15% faster. So I don't know what this and the US story are telling me is that Tesla has a bit of a demand dip and it needs to stimulate more sales. So in the US, it's doing that with a lower price version at last. And in China, it's doing that with some improvements that they can like try to hype up consumers about and be like, oh, you got to get the new Model Y. It's got these things. So I don't know. What do you think? There's a demand dip that's leading to this, or you think it's just a natural evolution of the
I
market?
mean, there's going to be a demand dip because everybody just made their student loan payments for the first time in 3 years.
but in China as well.
Oh no, in China they're just up against. So I mean, this is a good segue if you
or
to get into the BYD story that I sent you a little while ago. BYD's BEV pure BEV sales are 99% of Tesla's this quarter. So Tesla is sitting at 435.59, and BYD is at 431.603.
yeah,
So I mean, I don't necessarily think demand for the Model Y is dipping in so much as there are now real market competitors, and they're trying to maintain their lead. Because think of what happens to the stock if a new, when BYD puts out a press release that says we are now the number one EV company in the world, not Tesla.
yeah. I
Think
think
about what that will do to the hype bubble around Tesla stock.
there's probably
Maybe nothing,
a lot of
but
people wish they could have delivered 5,000 more vehicles last quarter because,
yeah,
well, two things here. I mean, BYD has been leading Tesla by far in plug-in vehicle sales. because about half of its sales are full electric and about half are plug-in hybrids now. It doesn't sell anything else. So if you looked at the plug-in vehicle chart, BYD would be way ahead. Some people pay attention to that, other people don't. If you just look at the BEV chart like this, you can see they've sort of grown together in very similar ways. BYD had its dip in the first quarter of this year, but otherwise it's almost like a parallel growth graph.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tesla just had a dip because of it retooling in for the Tesla Model 3 Highland. So it's likely Tesla bounces back in force this quarter, and BYD doesn't catch it. But BYD continues to grow very, very fast and continues to be just right there with Tesla like no one else. I mean, the third top selling BEV automaker would be like way down near the bottom of this graph. So it's them alone, and that doesn't really change. But yeah, it would be a huge headline if BYD became the best-selling BEV company in the world.
Do you think that'll happen? And if so, when do you think it'll happen?
That's a tough question, Joe. You put me on the spot. I do think it will happen at some point in the next couple of years.
I
think
interesting.
I don't think necessarily that will be permanent, though. I just think there will be times like this last quarter where Tesla's not at its peak and BYD's climbing fast, and then there will be other quarters where Tesla's hitting a big stride and BYD's dipping a bit. So I think they'll just continue to grow together. I just think BYD's got a lot more models, and the Chinese market is maturing very fast and is much bigger than the other markets. And BYD is starting to sell its more affordable full electrics in developing countries, and it's more Western full electrics in Europe and eventually in the US. So I think as it expands globally, it can pass Tesla, unless Tesla surprises it with like a really high selling mass market lower cost Tesla. But as you've said, that could drag down the brand appeal and hurt the Model 3 and Model Y sales. So I don't know. I don't think the Cybertruck is going to be enough, personally, to stave off BYD if it continues to do what it's doing.
Interestingly enough, I don't know if you saw it, the BYD Atto, which is a little crossover-y SUV kind of car.
Atto 3, they call it.
The Atto 3. That got a 5-star rating in the NCAP in Europe, which is not going to do anything to help the German automakers' case that these Chinese vehicles are not as good and not as capable and not up to the standards, because that's where a lot of the protectionist legislation comes from, is that the Chinese vehicles are not to the same quality as the vehicles developed and designed and made in Germany. And all these independent testers seem to be disagreeing with that. The BYD Seal has 5 stars in the NCAP crash test, and these are quality vehicles. You can't sit back and say these Chinese cars are not good or not decent quality. They're fine. So I think that's going to be, what we're going to see. Well, yeah, to go back to the previous question, I think we're going to see a rapid growth of BYD sales in Europe, in South America, in other Asian markets as well. And I think we're going to see Tesla take a hit in, I think, towards the end of Q4 and certainly in Q1, based on what's going on in the US. And I think those two things combined, maybe by the end of Q1, we'll have BYD beating Tesla.
Yeah, I think if you're going to get me to pick a quarter, I'm going to go ahead and guess.
Well, you said years, so I mean, you're thinking like 2025. I'm thinking soon, 6 months.
No, I'm just saying sometime within. I might put a peg on Q2 or Q3 of next year, depending on how well the Cybertruck ramps. But I see BYD having a smooth and consistent ramp with its vehicles and exporting more and more of them. And I'm not confident the Cybertruck will ramp really high. I think Tesla will get a big sales bump from the new lower cost Model Y for a couple of quarters. But then I wonder about Q2, Q3 of next year, Like,
Do you think?
maybe they keep selling from word of mouth that they're cheaper, maybe not, I don't know, but I mean they will
Yeah.
sell a lot. I just wonder how much more, right? And BYD I think could climb ahead.
Do you think Fisker will have an Alaska pickup truck in customer hands before Cybertruck?
Well, there's apparently a Cybertruck spotted near me here yesterday um in St. Pete, Florida here. So I think they're starting to perhaps deliver them to the first few customers, but I I'm just
Maybe. I
I'm
mean,
talking
they
about
said
mass
October
production.
was when
I
it was
mean,
supposed to start.
they might deliver a small number, but as far as getting them to mass production, I think that's the key, right? Going through production hell, as Elon used to say. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I
because
think it's
yesterday the consensus was that it was going to be delayed again.
yeah, but I mean, I just want to be technical about it. I think they'll deliver a few like they've always done, even when they're not ready to mass produce them. They'll deliver some to say that they delivered some. They've done this with every model pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And then but the question is, when do they get them to mass production, like sustainable mass production? But yeah, the Atto 3 we've already seen appearing on, was it the German sales chart that we were looking at the other day? Some of
Yeah.
these sales charts, it's already appearing in Europe. But I really think, I mean, this is one of the big things people talk about when they're like, oh, can Chinese brands sell in the West? It's like, oh, there's safety concerns. Man, when you get a 5-star safety rating, you can just knock that out of the water real quick. And then you say, hey, look at how much better our tech is than your European brands. And you're like, wow, so they have 5-star safety rating and their tech is great and it's affordable and it looks good. I mean,
Yeah. And
I
my
think
iPhone
BYD's
is made in China.
yeah, that too. They keep, reminding people of that. Yeah, no, I think I just think it's great too that we have two companies, because it's often said we have a lot of people try to say there's one company driving the BEV revolution. I've said that before,
Oh, I've said that, and I believe
but
that. I don't think you'd have a BYD if it wasn't for Tesla.
they wouldn't be doing what they're doing probably, but they are the clear driver in the Chinese EV market. I mean, them and Tesla together. Tesla has stimulated a lot of demand, a lot of sales, but BYD has as well, and it's always been there improving its tech. I mean, it's their EVs are so much better today than they were 5 or 10 years ago. They continue to just make massive improvements, and that's why they sell so many vehicles and why they're making it so hard on all these Chinese EV startups to break through.
Yeah, exactly right. All
So
right.
that's it.
That's
And we have
is that it?
one final.
No.
Yeah, I thought we'd talk about the Tesla stuff a bit longer, but we can go back to it if you want.
Well, there's
But
nothing to
there's
say. It's like the Ford Lightning thing yesterday. It's like that's a new trim package with a couple different options, and it's a special price. Great. Move on.
Yeah, the low cost of Model Ys in the US, the rear-wheel drive Model Y, I think it's the most interesting thing. And we have an article coming from Paul Foss about this, which we'll highlight in probably the next episode, I think, when it goes out. But it's really like, the 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 cost competitiveness of Teslas now are staggering. But this is an interesting program between the U.S. Department of Energy Vehicle Technologies Office and National Renewable Energy Laboratory, NREL, and Oak Ridge National Laboratory. All of these labs are sort of part of Department of Energy, sort of. So they have a program underway to help electrify rental car fleets across the U.S. and they're getting EV charging put into airports to make that viable, make that happen. So it's a project that frankly I don't think I ever noticed before, or ever knew about, and we published a Department of Energy article about it just a few hours ago. It's really cool. I mean, did you know about this?
No, I didn't know about it. There's probably 50 different types of programs like this that are going on, but no, I was not familiar with this one. I'm curious to know what kind of hardware they're using. To me, I think the question I look at with any of these is it plug and play or plug and pay, right? If I need to download an app, I think it's lame. So I'll have to go back and look at that article. I haven't read it. So
Yeah, it's
But
great that they're
definitely,
doing so much that this kind of thing can just fly under the radar and
yeah,
nobody
I was gonna
notices.
say
And of
I have
course,
seen these signs. I was in, of course, as you know, I was in Austin last week, and I did see these signs, but it didn't occur to me that it was something
oh,
as big as this.
these EV charging station signs.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
similar
because they
signs to this.
highlight you were in the Dallas Fort Worth. No, you were in Austin.
No, no, but I flew. Yeah, I flew into Dallas. It's a whole thing.
Okay, okay, so this was yeah. So you were at this airport that they're highlighting right now. So I guess it's probably the premier rollout so far, but they're going to do more. But yeah,
Yeah,
what
this
is
is
that?
DFW.
That's a SEMA Connect charging station there.
Yeah, well, they got bought recently, right?
I believe so. But
We're
yeah,
doing a great job. We'll keep
yeah.
doing the research live
we'll
on the
we'll
show. Yeah,
we'll
they were
put
bought by
links.
Blink.
We'll put links down in the bottom. So
They were
thank
bought
you.
by Blink. So yeah, this is cool stuff. Yeah, this was a short one today. They're not all going to be crazy days. And tomorrow, show up for the special 3-hour limited episode of EV Obsession, where we are going to really take a deep dive into all of the different mid-drive electric bicycle motors. That'll be 16 hours.
That's a joke, but probably, possibly
You
a
don't know.
joke.
Somebody will watch it. They'll be like, "This is
Yeah.
amazing." I never
All
knew.
right. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye. Cheese. Peace.
Hi, my name is Scott Cooney. I started Clean Technica to promote clean energy and other sustainable alternatives, and for 13 years we've been moving markets. If we had a nickel for every time someone told us they bought their first EV, solar, e-bike, or fill in the blank clean energy solution, we'd be a cable TV channel by now. But we don't get those nickels. So unfortunately, we could use your help to reach a few more people. If just 1% of our audience chipped in a few bucks a month, we could hire dozens of great journalists and promote all sorts of climate solutions. It's easy. Just go to cleantechnica.com/support and sign up with a credit card in seconds. Cancel anytime. But we'll be sending out some cool perks too, so I think you'll want to stick around. With your support, we'll keep leading the charge. Thank you so much.